back to another Koze Daily Brew. Today I wanted to talk about uncertainty. It was one of the topics requested when I asked you guys what you wanted to chat about this September Koze Daily Brew, and it's also a relevant theme in my life because I feel like September definitely came about with lots of uncertainty, and I feel, not for the first time ever, but definitely for the first time in a while, I've kind of embraced that uncertainty and dove headfirst into it, kind of taken it by the reins and just like owned it. And so uncertainty has definitely been a theme going on in my life, just with, there were a lot of shifts and changes this year that happened that caused a lot more uncertainty in 2019 than I would have ever thought. And it's weird because I feel like I'm very trusting of the universe in the sense that I like to believe that everything kind of happens for a reason, and that even if it feels confusing at the time, we always eventually kind of figure it out. But at the same time, it can be hard to kind of stare down the face of uncertainty and feel confident. And so if there were 3 tips that I had to give you guys, at least from my own personal experience, that I feel like give me the confidence to just stare down the gun of uncertainty, it would be this. First and foremost, it's to embrace it. As weird as it sounds, I feel like I'm always kind of a little bit more timid than I'd like to admit when it comes to me not being in control or being uncertain about things. I think that I gain my confidence when I know my grounding, when I know where my feet stand. And so when I feel like I'm not too sure if my feet are on solid ground, I don't feel as confident. And it's hard to be confident when you're not exactly sure what you're standing on. And so embracing it, embracing like the idea that good or bad, it's kind of like, I'm about to zoom way out, so stick with me here, but good or bad, it's still a human experience. And I've been doing just some like deep meditations and stuff lately, just all about human experience and how every emotion kind of deserves to be felt and every experience deserves to be lived, whether it is good or bad, or if you can, maybe try not to label it at all. Uncertainty can definitely be labeled as bad. And I think that in our world and just the way that our brains work, we're more often than not prone to kind of painting things in a bad light to try and set ourselves up to protect ourselves or set ourselves up just to not be like let down or to have too high of expectation. But then again, I feel like there is still the other choice. There is still the option to look at uncertainty and embrace it as kind of like a wild ride. Like, there's so much fun in kind of not knowing exactly what's going to come out of something and just kind of sitting back and being like, well, hey, I'm here for the ride. Let's see where this goes. And that kind of mentality, I think, makes uncertainty a little bit more exciting than anxious or, you know, concerning. My second tip when it comes to uncertainty is to make peace with what already is. I think the other thing that causes me to get a little bit more timid and afraid when I'm uncertain is that I've already kind of rejected what is and I'm uncertain of what will be. And being in that in between, it doesn't do me any good. Because when there's something that is or something you think is, and you're trying to make it something else, or for instance, like if you're talking about work, if you're talking about how you don't like where you're at right now, but you also are uncertain about where you'll be in the future, you kind of have to make peace of where you're at right now and what you are certain about in order to be able to embrace uncertainty. So making peace with it doesn't mean you have to love it, and it doesn't mean you have to hate it. It's kind of like not becoming indifferent either, but I guess in a lot of ways it's just accepting what is. And that's something that I think that I've learned a lot through therapy, and something my therapist has been working with me, I guess, with is just like when I'm having really hard to process emotions, to just make peace with them, to just stop trying to think my way out of them or to fill the cup up half full or to change them in any way, but just to embrace them and to sit and to kind of just be like, I'm at peace with this. Like, I accept this. I don't have to like it. I don't have to love it, but I accept it and I'm able to then move through it. And so uncertainty in general, making peace with what is, or even making peace with what you don't know, making peace with what isn't yet. It's so much easier to move through it peacefully when you're at peace with what's going on. Okay, take a drink every time I say peace. Last but not least, be optimistic about what will be. By that, I'm kind of tying back into what we talked about earlier, but I'm reading this book right now that's called The Happiness Advantage, and it's all about how a lot of the times we tend to kind of filter everything through the average or through like the negative. So when you open up the news or Twitter or anything, most people don't write in most people do write in to complain. A lot of people don't write into things to say happy things, you know? I'm butchering this, but basically when you turn on the news, when you look at recommendations or reviews of things, when you look at even statistics and graphs and like all of these like just collected data, a lot of the times we either cut it all out so it becomes kind of like the average or the middle, or we look at everything through a bit more of a negative context, and we talk about all the things that are kind of going on in the world that are scarier or that are threatening or that are fearful. And so learning about that, and just in this book in general, The Happiness Advantage, he talks a lot about how we think that to be happy, we need to be successful. So we chase success in order to get the outcome of happiness, when really the outcome of success is by going about things happily. And it's not going to be something you can do all the time, because like I just said, we need to be able to embrace and accept all emotions. So if you are entering an uncertain phase of your life and you're feeling a little anxious or uncertain, like don't fret if you can't just like flip on the happy switch. But at the same time, I think that even in our darkest hour, we can all turn on a little light of optimism. Like we can be a little bit more positive about what we think might happen or what will come, or kind of like the quote in a lot of ways, if you shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars. So even if you hope for what you want the most, or even if you're optimistic and you don't get exactly what you were hoping for out of this uncertainty, just being optimistic alone, just going at things with a bit more of a positive attitude, will usually mean that you'll land with something even better, or even just like on the same bar of good. You know, it doesn't have to be better per se, but just going at it thinking more optimistically will, I think, in a lot of ways drastically change the outcome of whatever it is you're uncertain about, because it's a lot harder to kind of rain on a happy person's parade than it is to rain on the parade of someone that's already crying, you know? That's a quote that I just made up, but that was pretty cool. I guess, anyways, what I'm getting at here is that it's not always easy to be optimistic, and I'm not saying you have to walk around like shitting sunshine and rainbows, but I guess what I am trying to say is that if we think about it more positively, if every time we notice ourselves getting a little tight and like anxious about the things that we're uncertain about or anxious about, to just like breathe into it, make peace with it, embrace it, and just hope for the best, because what else can we really do? The other option is to believe in the worst and to not make peace and to not embrace it and to resist it instead. And I think that when we do that, we make uncertainty our worst enemy instead of kind of like our fun friend. Because our fun friend, like we all have that one fun friend that's you're a little uncertain about what they're gonna pull out of their pocket or what they're gonna make you do, but at the end of the night, you're always like, that was the funnest night I've ever had. Versus the fun friend that you're like, I just can't handle you tonight, and then you end up sitting alone at home in your sweatpants. And sometimes sitting alone at home in your sweatpants is fun, but like also sometimes going out with the fun friend is funner. So there you guys have it. That's my Koze Daily Brew today about uncertainty, but let me know what you guys think. September, like I said, has brought in about a lot of uncertainty with going through a breakup and Larissa moving away for the winter and just like work and just all of this. Like I feel like 2019 is winding down real quick, and I'm like, I had no idea where I was gonna be, and now I'm like kind of uncertain about what's gonna happen, but I'm here for it in a lot of ways, which I was not anticipating. So I'm down to see what happens if you guys are, and aside from that, I'm also down to see you guys tomorrow morning in the next Koze Daily Brew. That was really corny, but we're gonna roll with it. So anyways, I'll talk to you guys then. Bye.